All right. Hi, Tate.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks for taking the time to connect and
Of
talk
course.
about the program. I'm curious if you could share, first of all, what Carleton is and what your role is with them.
Yeah, sure. So the program Carleton Buddhist Studies in Bodh Gaya and in Thailand, or in India and Thailand, uh, Carleton recently in the past decade bought it from Antioch College, which had been running it from that point for about 30 years. So actually the program is 45. I think now it's its 46th year. So it's actually one of the oldest study abroads in
Wow.
America. Um, And more recently, Carleton College, which was my alma mater, they bought it from Antioch and also a few others because Antioch was kind of going through their own kinds of things at the time. And Carleton's been running it for about 15 years now. Um, and yeah, the program it's open to many different kinds of students as well. So I mean, it's mostly undergraduate Americans who will go on the program. Um, but, sometimes we have all different kinds of students. Sometimes we have older students. A couple of years ago, we actually had a Tibetan tulku who went on the program as a student. For those who don't know, a tulku is someone who is a reincarnated, pa their past life was like a Tibetan master. Um, and so he was like the age of the students, like 22 or 20, 21. And he just went on the program too, just to see what it was like. And it was kind of like really cool to have a tulku there, but he was like his name was Jamyang, and they just like hung out with Jamyang, and he also got to feel what it's like to be like an American student. So we do have students of all kinds, yeah.
Awesome. And what is your role with Carleton? What are you up to these days?
Yeah, so I went on the program in 2021, and it really changed my life. Before then, I had only meditated a little bit using the Headspace app when I was in a real rut in terms of mental health. And then I was on Lexapro for like a year and really dealing with lots of mental problems. And then I went on this program and it like blew my mind out of the water and it like showed me this path. And um, so from then, like my life was very much changed. It was put on the better road. I've been practicing a lot since then and kind of delved much more into Buddhism. And in 2024, so last year, I went back on the program as the TA, which is the kind of the glue of the program. You kind of do everything. If anyone needs help, you go and help them. And so that was also a really wonderful experience for me.
Awesome. Cool. And so every year there's a new cohort
Mhm.
of students that are within this program. What is like the rough size of each cohort?
Yeah, it does vary by year. For example, this year the cohort's 22. I think that's pretty standard in the year that I was a student. I think it was 19. I think the year after was 26. So it's generally low 20s, although yeah, it does vary by year. Um, yeah, I think depending on the year as well and various visa things. So for example, like um, I think soon the program should be viable for like Chinese international students to go again due to like better relations between the governments of India and China, like letting Chinese students get visas. It seems like things are warming up there. Um, so it is mostly Americans, but yeah, we definitely also have international students as well who are coming on the program, mostly from American universities.
Cool. So you go for a semester, and are you in Bodh Gaya the whole time?
Yeah, so I can kind of let me kind of paint a picture of what the
Yeah.
program actually is, because it's actually really quite unique when it comes to study abroad programs, and its structure is like a very major central aspect of its uniqueness. And so this is the structure of the program. It is about 4.5 months long, and it starts in like late August, and it ends in like early December. So maybe that's 4 months, something like that. And there is everyone flies to Chiang Mai, Thailand, and they spend about the first month there. So that's orientation and kind of getting acclimated to things before they go to India, which is a more strange environment, you could say. And the program is set up in 4 3-week chunks, basically. And so the first 3-week chunk goes over Theravada Buddhism, kind of more orthodox. This is the Buddhism of Thailand, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, parts of Vietnam. This is the Orthodox Theravada style, and we have a master from the Mahasi Sayadaw tradition in Vipassana. His name is Ula Miet, and he is a really wonderful man. Um, he's been coming for a long time now, a few decades, I think, and he comes to the program. During that 3-week chunk to teach us Vipassana meditation. And so actually the first three chunks of the program, the first three-week chunks, there's three of them, and we go through each major form of Buddhism. And so the first one is Theravada, the second one is Mahayana, and the third one is Vajrayana. Um, and as we're going through these types of Buddhism, we also have masters from each of those traditions come to teach us not only about like the philosophy and the worldview, but actually more importantly about the meditation and the methods. And the program does have a quite rigorous schedule of every day waking up at around 5:30 a.m. and meditating in the morning, maybe half an hour, maybe 40 minutes, depending on what the teacher says. And then actually in the afternoon, there's at 5 p.m. usually, then we'll have the afternoon session as well. And there's, I think, like 1.5 days as well of break, on the weekends. Um, but the point is that while you're learning about Buddhism in these different traditions, you're actually getting instruction from teachers and you're actually implementing the meditation styles of what you're learning in a very embodied way. You're actually meditating, maybe an hour a day or an hour and a half a day.
Mm.
And you're also every single day in the evening sit, you're getting a Dharma talk from the teacher as well. So it's a lot of personal attention. You get personal one-on-one time, like office hours with these meditation masters. And I think this combined with the fact that we're like in Bodh Gaya in Thailand, I think this is the most unique, best part of the program and thing that's really life-changing for people because, you can learn about Buddhism from anywhere if you're reading a book. There's lots of great Buddhist professors and in colleges here and there. But to actually have these masters from these traditions come to you and teach you over a period of 3 weeks. At the end of the Theravada and Zen portions, we also have small retreats as well, like silent retreats of a day or two that are optional, but most students end up going on. And this is a really wonderful opportunity to really test your mettle. After 3 weeks of really practicing in a much more intense way, you're able to you're able to undergo challenges or you're able to have these experiences that you wouldn't have been strong enough, before. And with that guidance, it's only with this guidance that is possible. So maybe I'm being a little scattered. Maybe I'll get out to the grander view. So basically, there are these three traditions. There are three major traditions, which is Theravada, and there's Mahayana. While there are many Mahayana Buddhist sects, we have Sensei Ikai Korematsu Roshi. He is from Japan, and he comes to teach us Soto Zen. Um, so he comes and we set up like a Zendo. He teaches us all the proper forms, how to do the instruments too. Ding dong, like Zen has lots of these Dharma instruments. And there is a Zeshin, or there's like a meditation retreat at the end. And then for our final one, it's Vajrayana, which is Tibetan, or Tibetan is one strain of Vajrayana Buddhism. And we have the teacher Toki Nima Rinpoche come for 1 week. Um, and he actually started like a long, long time ago. And since then, he's become quite famous, but he has still stuck to his vow to come to us 1 week out of every year to give us very specialized attention, which is actually like a wonderful privilege because oftentimes when he comes to give us Dharma talks, there's like 100 people that come, or like there are people that know he's coming and they'll like come in just to hear him speak, but he'll actually give like personal attention to our students outside of
Mm.
that, which is a wonderful privilege as well.
Mm.
Um, and so those are the first three-week chunks. And the last is about 3 weeks as well. And this is our independent study project time, which is, I think, the second major unique characteristic of our program. And that is this is kind of the whole holdovers from like maybe an earlier time of study abroads when things were quite adventurous and people were quite like, oh, I'll just send my kid like wherever, which is each student gets a stipend, and with that stipend, you do anthropological field research in about Buddhism, but it's your own topic that you get to choose in one of many different kinds of countries. Um, and now we don't just like give students a bunch of money and say like go out do whatever you want. There's actually like throughout the whole term, the students are working with their special ISP advisor about okay, what are you interested in? What do you want to do? Okay, this is a good idea. How are you going to plan it? Like maybe we should practice, right? So there's a lot of preparation beforehand just to make sure the students are safe. And the students don't go out alone. They go out at the very least in pairs with each other. And
Mm.
we'll almost always have a faculty member going to check up on them as well, at least one time during this period of time. But so, for example, in my time, I went to Thailand, and I had heard about this Buddhist anti-capitalist commune of like farmers and workers, and they had like created their own kind of society, and I was super interested to see what it was. And so yeah, I went with one of my friends on the program. He was also studying Thailand, and after having practiced a lot, I had learned a little bit of Thai. I had learned how to buy tickets, and like kind of during the program you learn to kind of fend for yourself. Then I have the independence then to go on my own to interface and build connections with these utopian community farmers, and it was really wonderful. And actually
Mm.
after the program, um, I was able to go back and live with them for a little bit of time and learn a lot in that way too. And at the end of the ISP, you write up. You have the choice of either writing up, I think, 20 or 30 page report. It's an anthropological report on your findings, or you can give a presentation and submit an outline. But we also had a student last year who did a video as well, or a documentary. So yeah, there's all kinds of ways as well that you can um, deliver your findings about what you learned. So this is kind of like the more broad view. I guess
Mhm.
the last thing to mention is that we do the first of those chunks in Thailand, partly because we're learning about Theravada Buddhism, and Thai is a Theravada Buddhist country. Thailand is a Theravada Buddhist country. It's also a great place to have orientation. It's really fun. It's just a great place to be. Students are getting massages all the time and they're drinking smoothies, and it's like they're on vacation. It's really wonderful, but also getting acclimated to a different kind of cuisine and a different environment. And after that time, then we go to Bodh Gaya, which is in Bihar, India, which is like quite a rural place in India. Um, and while in recent years it's been getting more developed, it's still not an easy place to live, especially for a Westerner who doesn't have immunity or is not used to the food or not used to the climate, these kinds of things.
Mm.
Um, so after being acclimated a little bit in Thailand, it helps. Then we go to Bodh Gaya, India, and that's where we spend the next 6 weeks learning Zen and learning Vajrayana Tibetan Buddhism. And then during ISP, students have a choice to go many places. Yeah.
Great. And um, for those who don't already know the significance of Bodh Gaya, could you share some words about why that's a significant place to?
Sure, sure. Sorry. I sometimes I assume all these kinds of things. Yeah, Bodh Gaya Bodh Gaya is the city that has the Mahabodhi temple, and the Mahabodhi temple is the temple that has the Mahabodhi, and the Mahabodhi is it's a tree, the Mahabodhi tree. It's the tree under which the Buddha attained enlightenment. And so they still have a tree there. It is a clipping of like another clipping of the original tree. So the original tree that he actually sat under is it's no longer alive. But according to legend, clippings of that tree were taken, I think, down to Sri Lanka at some point, and another tree grew out. And then I think a clipping from that tree was taken back to Bodh Gaya when they had re um, invigorated and kind of renovated the place. And so that the current tree that you see there is still a clipping of the Mahabodhi tree. And in there's also this really wonderful, beautiful big stupa right next to the tree. And so this I would consider to be the Mecca of Buddhism. Um, if Buddhism has something, has an equivalent, it's the Mahabodhi temple. And Bodh Gaya is really quite a small town. Um, in the Buddha's time, this place was called the Empire of Magadha or Magad, and it was like the biggest, most powerful place in India, basically. Like King Ashoka, that was his empire, for example, a couple hundred years after. But nowadays, it's actually it's one of the more poorer parts of India, and so that's why it's in this rural area, and yeah, because it has the tree under which the Buddha achieved enlightenment and it has this kind of like Mecca status, you have a really, really international Buddhist scene, which is really, really cool. Like it's quite a small town, but in this small town, there's like 100 Buddhist temples or more. And they're not just from one Buddhist sect. You have Buddhist temples of representatives, almost like embassies, Buddhist embassies from pretty much every Buddhist country and strain and school, and it's really wonderful to see. And like during the program, you get to go to like, okay, we're going to the Vietnamese temple to say what's up, and we're going to the Zen temple, and now we're going to practice at the Thai temple, and now we're going to go to the Chinese temple, and there's a Mongolian temple, and there's a bunch of Tibetan temples, and there's a Sikkimese temple. You know, there
Mm.
is we actually live at the Burmese Vihar, the Burmese temple, which itself has really a lot of history with Joseph Goldstein and the Vipassana movement in the US. That's where the students live. They actually live in one of the temples in our own kind of gated, portioned off section of the temple because we've been coming there now for 45 years. So there's a lot of familiarity actually. Like it's weird. I think it's probably the only place in rural India where like you as an American could walk around and instantly feel at home in the way that people recognize you as part of some of a group that
Mm.
they have grown up with. Like
Mm.
every other part of rural India, you walk around and people are probably like, "Wow, who is this person? Like, why are they here?" But
Mm.
actually, in Bodh Gaya, you walk around and people are like, hey, what's up? Like,
Yeah,
you must
they
be from
know
the
why you're there.
program. They know why you're
That's
there.
so
They're
cool.
very nice. They
Yeah.
see new students every year. The students every year also have really wonderful relationships with them. Like last year, one of our students, she became really best friends with one of the women who lived in Bodh Gaya, and she's actually flying in a couple months back to Bodh Gaya just to hang out with her.
Oh.
So it's really wonderful. In this sense, even though you're going to like quite a strange foreign place compared to where you might have been before. Um, there's like it's weird because you're also just stepping into a home and you're like one of the family of that place at the same time. And over time, you get more familiar, you get more confident, and by the time you're leaving, it's like you really are leaving like a family or you're leaving home.
Mm. Beautiful. And speaking of home, you mentioned that the Burmese temple is where uh, the students are based. Is that like what are the accommodations like, and where do your classes happen? And like, yeah, maybe because I'm such a visual person, I'm asking you
Sure,
to
sure. Yeah, it's a
paint
great
a visual
question.
picture. Yeah.
I made some videos in terms of visual stuff. I made some videos of the program last year while I was just kind of lazing around after the students had left. As the TA, there was still some stuff you need to do, and I had some downtime. So I made some videos about different aspects. This is a great question, of course, about what it's like. If you go on our website and our landing page, maybe I can send you a link to put. You'll be able to see those videos on our YouTube. One of those videos is what is it like at the Vihar, and also what is it like in Bodh Gaya, so you can actually see for yourself. Um, but if I were to describe it, yeah, like the Burmese Vihar is it's not really if you visualize it as just like a single temple building, that wouldn't be accurate. It's more of like a temple complex, as many of these are. They're like quite big. There's many monks that live there full time. There's many Indian people who are locals that come to work and upkeep the place. And so there's like a big gate. There's a wrought iron. like fence gate that's always watched. In that sense, it's nice because we have our own community inside. There are cooks that there are cooks and staff that come to for the direct purpose of like looking after the students and looking after the space. So, food is one thing that people are quite nervous about, like I don't know if I'm able, going to be able to eat all the food in rural India. And a lot of the cases it's not true. Like a lot of people do get food poisoning. But one thing that's really good is that we have cooks on our program that are adhere to different kinds of standards and never, like really like never, students never get food poisoning from the food that we serve in the Vihar, which we serve every single day, 3 meals a day. There's also two tea times, which is I really miss now that I'm outside of that context. There's chai. Like if you come on the program, by the end you will have a chai addiction because there's like delicious chai and biscuits, peanut butter and all this stuff twice a day. Um, at 10 and I think 4 p.m. if I can remember correctly. Um, but in terms of the food, there is that, and it's all vegetarian food as well. And there's also many vegan options. So in terms of yeah, there's gluten free as well. We're really quite flexible. I mean, that's one of the good things about having people like a chef, or like a staff that like is there to help you out. And we've been working with those families for generations. Um,
Mm,
so they're really quite used to working with whatever problems might arise, with an American or largely American cohort of students. We have our own couple buildings. Over 45 years, we've also helped to help pay, for example, like electricity in the temple, and like we really become a part of the community as well.
mm,
So when we go there are a couple buildings that are like when we're there, they're kind of cordoned off for our use, and like everyone knows, okay, that's the space for the students. We don't go there. Like, there's a couple. Yeah, we won't go up to that upper level, or we won't go to that building, and we'll give them their privacy unless they need something.
mm,
Um, and one thing that's really cool is that there's these, it sounds like a small thing, but actually has a big impact on the community. There's a culture of day beds. So outside of everyone's room, people usually have one or two roommates, but outside of each room, there's like a bed, like a day bed, lounge bed that people just chill on. And it goes down the whole corridor. So there's like a whole corridor of day beds. And it makes it so like the community is amazing. Like you just walk down the corridor and there's like three people hanging out and like it just, and every single afternoon just becomes like a spontaneous conversation about Buddhist
mm.
philosophy or, what experiences you're having in meditation or like what you saw in Bodh Gaya that day or whatever. So
I love
that,
that.
that-
People aren't just shut up in their rooms. They're hanging out on the day beds. They're available and interested in
yeah,
connecting.
yeah, it's really wonderful. One thing that helps with that effect as well is our low technology policy.
Mm,
Which is another unique aspect of our program. Yeah. The technology, we have a low technology policy. It's not if people are worried that like, we're gonna come in like 1984 into their room and like break their phone and say, no, no, it's definitely not like that. It's more of a conversation with the students, about what kinds of technology rules that they want. They're able to see the guidelines that students in the past have done. And you tend to get a self-selecting group of students that go on this very unique program. So a lot of those students go in with the intention of wanting to go low technology.
mm,
So that we can really help as well. But it's much less of like we are like authoritarians trying to say these are the rules, you got to stick by them. It's more like these are some guidelines. Let's talk about what the community wants for us. And every year we usually come to a good consensus on like a low technology policy, for example, like never in any public spaces, stuff like that. But that also helps with the sense of like getting to know people
right.
and not being shuttered up in your room.
Mm, amazing. Cool. So in terms of timelines, are you all still accepting applications for next fall,
Yeah,
2026?
yeah, certainly. Yeah, the deadline for next fall is so the deadline for fall of 2026. So that's currently our students are on the program right as we speak. They're starting to finish up the Tibetan part of the of the program. So they're good, they're very close to doing their ISP now. So by now, my guess is that the students have all submitted all their plans. They have to get their plans checked off by their ISP advisor. They have bought their train tickets. They're like, planning it all, and we're making sure that they're not just going out there blind. Um, right now is a kind of exciting time for the students. The program has different, you know, the program has different phases, and right now it's like exciting. Okay, I'm getting into this Tibetan practice. We just saw Choki Nyima Rinpoche, got some teachings, and now they're looking to go off to ISP. In terms of when the 2026 applications are due, that is next year. So I would say early March of 2026, I think is the deadline. And yeah, we still look at applications up until then. Um, but yeah, also I wouldn't be super nervous about your application as well. I mean, there's lots of ways that we work with people. We never really just like cut someone off or whatever. Like if you're interested, just start an application at the very least, see what it's like. And yeah, one of my best friends, he came with me on the program in my year, and he was a comp sci major. And he was like, I'm really interested in this, but like I've never taken a religion class and I've never taken a philosophy class and I've only taken comp sci stuff. Like, I don't think I'll ever get in, or like I don't think I fit. And I was like, just submit an application, just submit an application. And he submitted an application. He's like, I really want to go and I don't really know anything about this. Is that okay? And they were like, yeah, like it seems like you have the right intention coming into
Mm.
this. I didn't know anything about Buddhism before I went either.
Mm.
So my recommendation is, the deadline is in early March. If you're interested, just dip your toe in the water. Um, I will be in retreat very soon, but if you're interested, maybe I can give an email or something that someone can contact with questions, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, great. And I'll put the link to the program in the newsletter as well. And
Sure.
yeah, it sounds amazing. I feel like I notice a desire in myself to go do this program after hearing you talk. And yeah, I really hope that members of our community who have been looking for something like this, I hope they feel encouraged to look in deeper.
Yeah, I when I talk about this after the program, because this was my first exposure to Buddhism at all. And after the program, I would talk to other American convert Buddhists or other Buddhists in general. And they were kind of like, wait, what is this? Like, how come I never knew about this? You know?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so I feel very lucky and blessed, and at least trying to give that opportunity to others, by spreading the word.
yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Tate. Is there anything else you'd like to share about the program or things people should know?
Um, I think like if you're interested in the program, I would say a good thing to do is take a look at our website landing page. I think we might not yet have set up the 2026 page, so I'll have to check up on that. But if you look at the 2025 one, or whatever's on there will be basically the same.
Cool.
Um, if you're interested, you could obviously take a look at the pictures and the videos as well. Um, reaching out is also a good idea, but yeah, I think like I think if there's anything that I were to say, it's like I think a lot of people just like write it off. Like they're like that would be interesting, but like I would never go to rural India because the idea they have in their mind is like, just really terrifying, really horrific. Or like that would be great, but I could never do that much meditation in a single day. Like I'm nowhere near that level. And if there's anything I could say, it's like maybe just try to be open, like I'm not going to say it's easy. It's not easy for a lot of the students. It's difficult. But there is a wonderful supportive atmosphere there. And while you're there, you're able to challenge yourself in certain ways in that unique environment that you'd never be able to otherwise. And you're able to learn completely unique things about yourself that you never knew. And so my biggest thing would just be like, take the leap, even if the leap is just checking out a few videos or opening an application or asking someone a question about it. Um, don't count yourself out too early.
Hmm. Awesome. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording.